right, hello, good afternoon, and thank you for tuning in to the latest episode of the Astro News Network Father's Day edition. I was hoping to have a Mystic crash to talk about for the show today, but Mystic did not yet deliver. Yet. But I don't think I'm going to spoil their next launch this time like I did last week for the initial launch through the wormhole. I don't think I'm going to spoil that for you guys. But at least Bust has been giving us a break from their multiple consecutive night 3 a.m. launches that surprise nobody on the other team and are only kind of exhausting people on their own side. I wish someone that's in Triad that is watching could please confirm that they're aware that Bust only likes to launch in the middle of the night and this is the only time we make moves and that you guys know this. Anyway, I still did manage to find a little bit to talk about for Antares and Ares this week before we get to our first guest, who is long time Astro Empire's journeyman, old man SilverKnight. I reached out to him 2 weeks ago after Belwar's worst GM list, and SilverKnight responded by immediately diving headfirst back into Astro Empires. Mr. Black, you are correct, because now I can only set alarms with my phone on vibrate, but because if it's too noisy, it'll wake up both the wife and the baby, and that can't happen anymore. So, yes, I have missed all the launches on Mystic. I used to wake up to vibrate stuff, but now I don't anymore. It's that baby's fault. I'll delegate the blame to him. Delegation is important. But we have SilverKnight on today, and if I'm lucky, I might be able to wrap this show up in under an hour, but we'll see what happens. So let's go ahead and just jump right into this week's headlines, which the first one is Mystic Wars. Mystic has been on red alerts from 1 week ago, minus 1 hour, when the ANN delivered the breaking news that Bust launched through the wormhole to the 00s. Triad, led by Cloak, decided not to suicide on the wormhole this time and pulled their fleets back to 04. And Bust has been in pursuit. They've moved down to 05 using their trademark middle of the night launches. The blob sizes are relatively close. Bust only has a small advantage in total size. They also have the fleet average advantage as well by, I think it's about 2 million on that, so not bad. Let's see. Bust has been employing a few unconventional strategies that I want to point out, and have been noticed that we did just make sure to set all of our titles to our fleet speeds, our stellar and warp. Some people on Triad ask me, they're like, why did this happen? I said, I don't know. And we've also had the strategy of threatening some semi-inactive players while we're in the middle of our offensive op, which did, I believe, lead to one very poor suicide. Whoops. An attempt to move down to 04, which is where the Triad blob was made Thursday night, but the activity just on that night was just really bad. It was worse than all the other launches. Then they needed to recall. Bust lost a little bit of fleet there, roughly 20 million, maybe 30 million. I'm not exactly sure on those figures because I know that Triad, they made some good hits, but then some people made bad hits on the inactive fleets that were landing on them. It was weird. I don't know when Bust is going to end up trying to strike their final blow, but I will hope that it turns out better than last year when we lost that one. Anyway, but that is Mystic. We're just waiting on that crash. There's billions of fleet just waiting one galaxy apart. Next, we're going to move on to Ares, the speed server, which this week, not much happened until just last night, when Slack lived up to their name of being slackers, while simultaneously making a power play for their #1 rank spot, by having their allies crash into error in 05, and they got to pick a little bit of that debris up for free. However, this just in, as Matt Meow reported on the AE Discord, the people that in Slack that did get to pick up some of that debris for free, they did get fined for credit transfer, so whoops on that plan. And there's also another fun quote from the Slack GM Meow, which was, "Do you know how this game works? Pacting and diplomacy is how this works." Fun guy. Can't imagine why anyone would kick people out of your last speed server guild with that attitude. Whew, kind of boring. But despite the lack of action on Ares since the zoo meltdown 2 weeks ago, people have been shit-talking constantly in the Discord about it. And I mean really constantly. Which is really boiled down to every guild telling the other guilds, well, we're not going to launch, but you should launch on us or you're stupid. And it's just been that for basically 2 weeks. It's been terrible. I mean, as Meow pointed out, I was going to point this out even before he said it himself just half an hour ago, that while Meow did bring 30 people to the server, at least he's finally doing something now. Took him 3 weeks, but he's finally doing something now, at least. I can't complain about that. Yeah, but we'll see if the pile they were gifted and then it got de-gifted. But we'll see if that can get them boosted in a first place. If you take a look at the rankings, RL is only ahead by a little bit of them in the level rankings for that first place spot. Let's see. Yeah, that's it. Don't forget DP. Oh, we'll get there when we talk about the fleet numbers, which is right now. Which, taking a look at the fleet numbers, RL has almost 11.5 million fleet as of a couple hours ago, and their friend Guild Error has about 5 million fleet left. Tribe and Left 4 Dead combined are at 19 million, and if you add in their other pact, Eclipse, that they say doesn't count, they're over 22 million. And Slack and Zoom 2 are behind at about 15.5 million, and I'm pretty sure DP's with them as well, so tack on another 4 million onto that. Almost 20 million in that Uppers Alliance. Looking at the rankings experience, it used to be Tribe and Left 4 Dead from their crash 2 weeks ago, but now the new top 2 XP guilds are Error and Zoom after they got into their scrap last night. The number 1 official single account belongs to Rat King Moros, and since that's an incognito name, I have no idea who that is. That's someone in Rethok's guild.
You're literally just being shit leader, shit strategist, shit at AE. You're the joke of the community. All you do is just get farmed out and then try and pull this bullshit where you just blame everyone else.
Oh my god, Scott, so toxic. You need to really chill out, Scott. I thought you were supposed to take flame well. My goodness. Ugh. Anyway, we're going to move on to Antares. Sorry about that Scott butting in and saying all that toxicity. That's not right. That's not representative of the Astro Empire's community as a whole. Ugh, terrible. But yeah, that's Ares. We're going to move on to Antares, which somehow did even less this week on Antares. In OPA, we've been kind of chilling for the last 2 weeks, and kind of everyone else on the server has been chilling as well. The only thing I can even think of that really happened was that the protection in the new cluster, the 50s, is gone, and to no one's surprise, Trek was the first guild to go up there. We knew it was going to be a guild from the 30s, and Trek was the one that made the most trips to the 40s, so not too surprising that they were the first guild to go up to the 50s. Yeah, sorry, yeah, Meow, you just missed it. Ares is gone, though. We did talk about how the breaking news that you reported that your guys that picked up credits, they did get a little bit of credit transfer for that. I did talk about how your guild is in second and you might overtake first place, which is very possible. Yeah, just missed it. Unfortunate. And then you got to hear me talk about Antares, where nothing happened all week. Womp womp. We'll briefly touch on the rankings. They moved around a little bit. The top 5 guilds by level are OPA, Japan, USSR, SF, and VVV now. The number 5 used to be Belwar's guild, but they dropped down just a little bit this week, replaced by the Chinese guild in the teens. The rankings by fleet are mostly the same, except you replace VVV at number 5 with War. They're number 5 fleet now. Going to the XP rankings, the top 5 XP guilds are Dai, OG, XOXO, Trek, and SF. I don't know where this experience for SF is coming from in the zeros, because in the lowers, I feel like they've just been doing nothing. But I guess they're still like, I don't know, they have little people to farm on down there. I don't know what's happening, but somehow they have the number 5 XP. Whatever. Inting, Thog, and Bob. Sure. I guess they have little farm guilds to deal with. Sounds like a hoot. If we look at the top 10 individual accounts, there's one Teens account, still elite, that's still number 1. He's always built great accounts. There's one Zeros account, he's number 2. There's 6 accounts from the 20s and 2 accounts from the 30s, which are both from Japan. I didn't receive any untracked statistics this week. Shame on everyone. I don't know who has base 15 yet. Probably nobody, maybe, but I didn't get to hear about it, so that's very sad. Also, on the weekly feature of Did Belwar Recall this week, No, Belwar's guild did not recall this week. I don't even think he had a launch. But no recall for Belwar this week, so I think that's a win for him. He can put that down on his chart. And before we move on to our first interview with SilverKnight, I'm going to take that quick moment to do that self-promotion thing. Just got to thank everyone that's watching, followed, subscribed, all that fun stuff. And here's your friendly reminder that if you do have Amazon Prime, you can link that to your Twitch account and you get a free monthly subscription to your favorite streamer on Twitch. And this free Twitch Prime subscription, you get to use it every single month to resubscribe to your favorite streamer. Could be me, could be anybody. And if you're not watching these live, I do upload these to YouTube the next day after for old people who don't know how to click a video on Twitch. It's just a link, it's the same thing. But some people like the YouTubes. You follow and subscribe there, whatever it is, all that little bit helps. But really, that's about all the news we have as far as server-wise. All the recent servers, like we were close to action on Mystic, but we didn't actually get any. I'm sure it'll come soon. We'll get to talk about it next Sunday, but until then, kind of just a slow week, boys. And with that, we're going to take just a quick short break so I can get hooked up with SilverKnight, and we're going to come back together, and we're going to talk to SilverKnight, and we're going to talk about the accounts he's picked up. Just get text-to-speech for subbing. There's probably a way to do that. I have a different thing that's text-to-speech, but I do like your thought process, Meow. Maybe I will. We can get some more hate speech spoken out loud. Well, that sounds good, yeah. But we're going to take that quick break, and we'll be right back with SilverKnight. Give me a moment. We'll be right back.
Okay, I think I have it on push to talk. All right, so when I want to talk, I'll just push the button here. Eins, zwei, drei, vier, fünf, sechs, seven. Fantastic.
All right, guys, we're back here with SilverKnight. Thanks for coming on, SilverKnight. You want to say hello to everybody?
Hello there, and I'm hearing everything double. Hold on a moment.
Oh, yeah, you got to mute the stream. Don't forget that. But all right, yeah, SilverKnight, he's definitely an older school player from the game. He hasn't played a bit recently, but if you played in some of the older servers before now, I'm sure you recognize the name. He used to be all around, all over the place. And so while we are going to talk about some of the servers that he's picked up in the past few weeks, he's got handed a bunch of accounts already. I'm sure we're going to also talk about a little bit of ancient history as well. He's been around, he's seen a lot of things. So I guess we can just dive into that first question I love to hit everybody with. Can you just describe just a brief Astro Empire's history that you can give everyone?
Well, I started Astro Empires back when Astro Empires had exactly 3 servers: Alpha, Beta, and SETI.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because I remember even seeing you. My first server was Phoenix, and I think you were in Nomad on Phoenix.
No, I don't.
No,
not at all. The last server I was on, because I took a break, was Centauri.
Centauri, yeah, that was the third B.0 server, or 2.0 server, yeah.
Yeah, and the last one of the version 1s that I was on was, I think, Pegasus, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Do you remember which guild you were in on Pegasus?
Well, I started... Oh, I don't want to do any spoilers. I started with one particular guild and then went to the other guild because of that. I ended up in Royal.
Gotcha. Oh, yeah, and by the way, you can see on the screen, SilverKnight did prepare his own list of worst GMs not named SilverKnight to, just give a response to what Belwar did 2 weeks ago, where he slandered the good SilverKnight name.
Oh, yeah. Well, Belwar was my mate on a few servers and was my opponent on other servers multiple times. So it's like... he and I are more alike than I think he would want to admit. You got to pull up his profile screen from Utopia.
Oh yeah, I do have that up on the screen because I guess he gave you a count in his guild and you changed, so savagely you changed his title to Multi of SK. Guys, oh my god, I can't believe you would do something so rash as that.
Why not? It's funny.
Oh goodness. So all right, I got some more questions for you. So you've been a part of several big name guilds over the years, and you need a break. How long have you been taking the break? Because did you play consistently from like SETI to Centauri?
Actually, I went from Alpha all the way through Centauri in between for all of them, with no break in there. And I've taken a break since then for about 6 years.
6 years. That's the same break as long as of a break that Alicus took. He claims 6 years. It's only 4, but 6 is what he says. So a couple weeks ago, Belwar had claimed that you were a subpar GM, not one of the best. While I defended your honor, I said the SilverKnight is the perfect kind of teammate. Do you really prefer just being a relaxed soldier, or do you like doing that try-hard thing when in leadership?
It's sort of kind of where do I feel that day, because there are times when, hey, I just want to go and smash stuff, but there are other times when I want to make the try to see if, can I win it this time?
Yeah, because in the guilds that you played with me, if there was always a guy that you needed to, we need to hard arc the space in our galaxy, it's building jump gates, you were always the person that wanted to go on and jump on that grenade and take care of that every time.
Oh, yes, and some of my favorite ones were like, remember in Mira? Mm-hmm. Oh, that was fun. No spoilers, though.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, goodness, yeah, because we played on Mira, then everything fell apart there, and I think you got to be the one that got to pick up all the pieces there and keep everyone alive, and because as it usually happens with my guilds, when something goes wrong, I have to quit, and so that the players can not get murdered by all the guilds that want to kill us now. Because somehow I get a lot of personal hate. I don't know how that happens, but then you get to pick up the pieces and keep everyone alive as like a sub guild or something like that.
Yeah, that's how the Drunken Space Pirates got started, and we eventually became part of HH at the end of it.
Yep. So you played for over a decade, I believe. Can you remember some of your favorite ops from your favorite servers over the years?
One of my favorites was in my original Power Guild in Delta when we launched into Delta 30. It was the first time I actually saw a real synced launch ever, and it was beautiful seeing the entire guild's mobile landing within a very tight window of about maybe 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember what the name of that guild was?
Yes, it was WMD, the original. They won the server. From day one.
Quick question about Delta. Now, was Alicus in WMD? Because Alicus has recently claimed to have won Delta as a fleet commander.
He didn't do it in WMD, I can tell you that.
I just wanted to get some clarification from someone that was there.
Not during those first 2 years. In those first 2 years, Alicus, I think, was in another guild, and he might have won it later on down the road, but after I already quit Delta. But not during the WMD power years. Yeah. And the only reason why that they aren't still on top of it is because they got bored and decided to break up, and that's why Ayaya and a few others became the Power Guild afterwards.
Mm-hmm. Because I remember seeing Ayaya on top, which was, I guess, just after those Delta WMD years, because that's just what I remember from when I guess first ever looked at it. But that makes sense.
Yeah, that was WMD was the that was my first server start also, because back in SETI, I was the diplomat for the Admiralty, and I had to do the diplomacy stuff with the GM of Guardians of Paradise during our war between the Admiralty and Guardians of Paradise. It was part of the Sword Union, which led by Hi-Ho. And Diablo then popped the question of, hey, there's a new server coming up. Could you join me? And we became founding members of WMD.
Yeah, cool. All that ancient history stuff. Let's see. I mean, you had to have had another favorite op aside from that one on a million years ago Delta.
There was quite a few. Of course, some of my biggest failures were followed by some of my biggest successes. But I enjoyed when I GM'd in Nova, and that's where I got to meet up with and eventually made friends with Judicator.
Adjudicator, yep. I think the last server I remember him playing on was Mystic, but I don't think I've really seen him since then. So he might still be lurking around somewhere. I like Judicator.
Yes, Judicator is actually one of the admins on my Facebook page of the Mostly Harmless Astro Empires page.
Oh, yeah. I remember that now, yeah.
Him and also another person who was opponent or mate on in Astro Empires, Misty. She was one of the imps from Omega Empire.
Yep, I think after that I remember she would be in guilds with like Irish Eyes making jump gates for them. Always making jump gate accounts, but did it well. Oh yeah,
she was you want to talk about a soldier, she definitely was. She'd be one of those that I would want on my team if I was setting up a guild to try to take on the big boys. I'd want her on my.
Yeah, she was definitely very good. I think the last server I may have saw her on was Elysium, so that was at least 3 years ago, really. So.
Yeah, it's been a while, and a couple of my other mates that were on some of the stuff passed away in real life, like rest in peace, Raindrops from SETI.
Oh, yep. Because I know we lost. I think Magic Swan. If you remember that name, I think he.
Oh yeah, I remember him. Yeah, he was a mate of mine in SETI, and I think also.
But,
yeah, very ancient history there. But
Astro Empires players, we're getting older, man. We're all 30 plus. We're officially boomers. Over 30 is a boomer on the internet, and that's what most of us are now.
Well, then that makes me a senior citizen because I'm over 50.
Oh, yeah, you are ancient. You are an ancient man. But so I think it's really just been less than 2 weeks that you've been back playing Astro. Where all have you collected accounts so far?
Okay, I started one account in Utopia, but then I took over Swearigan's account in Utopia.
That's probably not a bad account.
Oh yeah, he happened to have the my favorite spec, the spec that Yaman would never allow me to have if I was to be in his guild because he doesn't trust me very much, and that's ion frigates. Uh-huh. Yaman liked to do this Titan spec thing, and he really was paranoid about me with those ion frigates, afraid that I would do something like, "Okay, asshole, you're done."
That was probably my fault from Omega, for sure. That's definitely my fault. Which that was like my big. That was, of all the things in Astro, that was just like my biggest regret, because I was just like Omega was just boring, and like Yaman was just like the super nicest guy, but I was bored, which is dangerous, and I was just like, we're gonna try to stab him now, and it didn't work out. And you were with us then, so I know that's probably how it happened. But that's no joke. My biggest regret was that Omega just, like, I got bored of trying to stab Yaman because he was so nice. He was so nice, and I was just like,
yes, oh yeah, I know Yaman. He is a really cool fellow, but he was paranoid about me, and that's why he, demanded that in order to join up with Imp, instead of just being farmed out, was to respec as cruisers.
Yes. Because Ion Frig's super meta now. Like, the main 2.0 spec is to just go frigates and then have some Ion Frigs with it, so you can't ever get capitals. So capital ships are just like super nerfed on 2.0 because everyone goes frigate, Ion Frigate hybrid, and that's just what it is.
I was ahead of my time. I was doing that in version 1.
Yeah, very ahead of the time. But yeah, so I guess, what other servers do you have? We talked about like Utopia and only Utopia. What else?
Oh, I also, I also have an account in Antares, but, I totally, took all the handicaps on this one with, by joining up with an old friend who has also been, for me, every time that I start on him, he was like printing money, and that's, I joined EAA.
Oh yeah, that's on. Is that on Antares?
It's on Antares in the 50s.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, what is there? Anything
I might wind up joining like in about a week or two, but depending upon what happens. For me, I'm doing it for fun and learning the mechanics mostly at this.
Yeah. Is Evil Khan up there in EAA?
He's the one that started it. He actually came back out of retirement himself and actually started EA.
Oh, it's good to always see the old names come back. A lot of names came out of the blue for the 3.0 server. It was very surprising, but we're all very happy that it happened. Almost like twice the amount of players for this 3.0 server than came out for that last 2.0 server that came out 6 months before it. So this is like a mini renaissance of people coming back to the game. It's fantastic.
Yeah, there are some actual things in version 3 that they actually tweak the numbers on the Astros themselves, and that's kind of, that made a huge difference on how it's played. Like, you don't do first position roids, unless you are, dumb. Where in version 1, it's like jackpot.
Well, second position, isn't it? Because you get the 5 fertility. You can't have that 4 fertility first position asteroid. That's terrible.
Well, in version 3, it is not even as good as 4. It's now, with the first position all having -1s, it's now 3.
Yes, it's the 3 and 4 is the magic +1 fertility spots.
Yeah, so the fertility actually is a much more impactful in version 3. I've actually scrapped some crystallines and some rocks in order to get to some more livable planets in Antares 55.
Yeah, and asteroids have actually become a bit more of the meta as well, because as was kind of started on Nexus and then done again on Antares here, was some people kind of figured out that they actually want to rush the P-rings on some asteroids, so that way they can like more safely do out of cluster ops, because that way no one wants to invade and hit your rings a month into the server. So that's actually kind of been the meta, which has made the first month of the server a lot slower than they used to be.
Oh yeah, it's because people are trying to rush rings, and it's like it's not necessarily the best way to roll, but hey, some people like
play to win.
Yeah. But the fact that there's so many packs going on with so many folks, it's like, ooh, this is turning into like a new game, but like alpha all over
again. Sorry, I got distracted by chat. Spartan said, "You are Sherlock Holmes," for figuring that out. That's Spartan's one of the Alicus players, if you remember the Spartan from back in the day.
Oh yeah, Spartan.
Spartan claims he doesn't have a very hot temper anymore.
Oh, sorry, but oh wow.
Yeah, seems unlikely. That's what I said.
Yeah, I'll just say that using his temper has been, kind of like one of the metas in the game of having him pissed off enough to do something really stupid.
Yeah, one of his my favorite Spartan move is when there's like a blob crash, because he likes to go like Dreads or Titans have some sort of capitals, and the blob crash, he'll land, but he'll immediately like not make a hit, and he'll just like launch over to like where the recyclers are and just try to smash all the recyclers. That's his favorite. That's his favorite play.
Yeah, that's kind of like, oh god, dude, focus on the task at hand, secure the landing zone for everybody else,
I can remember him doing that on, I think it was Elysium, and we all got very mad at him. But we still won the crash anyway without him participating. It was super close though, but he didn't have to be that close. But that's good old Spartan, team player. But I think we're through these little questions here, unless there's anything else 3.0 you wanted to talk about.
With some of the stats on the, like I said, the Astros, the stats, they upgraded the metals on some of the planets. Now you have 4 metal planets, you have 3 metal planets, and 2 metal planets. I don't think I've seen any 1 metals.
Nope, there's no pitiful glacials anymore. They're all bumped up to 2.
Yeah, so, I've actually been using tundras because I'm only, I'm expecting to not play on upgraded there, and so I'll need planets in order to have the area for everything I want to do.
Yeah, if you're gonna not bother to upgrade, then yeah, you just make sure to go planets. That's the right play for that. But I want to talk about your worst GM list. I know some of these names are some older names, like a couple of the people on there I didn't even know who they are, but you have stories to go with them, so I think that'll still be good. Of the worst GMs not named SilverKnight. You ready to talk about those?
Oh yes, that would be that would be awesome.
All right, well, I'm going to pull this down. Number 1, some guy named Atris from Order. So what server is this? It's C, so that's SETI. All right, so who's Atris on SETI?
Atris was like the VGM of the guild Order back when I was in the guild Exodus. And I actually went to war on his guild by myself without my guild backup because, I just asked, can I just do this one on my own, guys? And after I farmed his entire guild, he then created TC to, try to do it right. And he wound up trying to backstab and failed to do badly and got himself kicked from his guild.
Good time.
And we were all farming him, and he was pretty stubborn. in his stupidity. He actually joined BSMF, which is in SETI 46, and he was being farmed in SETI 45. So he just said, "Hey, relocate to SETI 46, and we'll even give you a 3-month upgrade." He said no.
He just wanted to cockroach and just be annoying. Some players love to cockroach around and just do that dumb nonsense, but I'd take.
He didn't do it very effectively. He just wound up feeding credits, and he financed my JG10s.
Yep, there you go. Yeah, but yeah, so he sounds like a dum-dum.
Oh, he was an idiot. Totally.
Oh, right, yeah. So that's some old school SETI. Who's up next on the list? I think it's a name that I do recognize. Oh my goodness. Alicus on the worst GMs list.
Yes! Alicus is one of the worst.
He's back, though. He's back, and he's won, by his own count recently, 2.5 servers. 2.5 servers.
Alicus does know the mechanics of the game. He has a great, but I would not want to follow him. The standard I'm going by, worst GM, is who do I not want to, or did I have the misfortune of being with them in the lead? And Alicus, like I said, he just kind of gets bored and does very suicidal things.
Did you hear about what happened on the speed server?
Oh, what happened this time?
Okay, well, it was a week ago, and I guess there was like a crash that he was going to win, but he had convinced himself that there was like another guild that was like also like secretly against him. So like 10 minutes before the crash, he bailed on it and told people to retreat. But like most of his people said, "F that, we're gonna stay and fight anyway." And even though I forget exactly how much of their fleet completely left the pile, they still almost won the fight by like 20,000 fleet. There was only a little bit of fleet left. So Alicus just bailed on like a 100% winning crash because he was paranoid.
Okay, yeah. Well, there's the reason why he's a little paranoid is because he's gotten in over his head multiple times, including when he was a noob in Alpha. He actually voided his server protection while in Alpha, and there was a guy that was trying to hard-ock him with heavy cruisers and stuff when he couldn't even put up fighters really.
Alicus, he loves to fight no matter the cost. That is his number one priority, just fighting with preferably everyone at the same time.
And he was getting himself farmed really badly, and the only reason why the guy backed off is because I was bringing in a Levi stack to erase his heavy cruiser.
I like how you call them Levi's instead of levies.
Tomato, whatever. It's just huge, 200 credits per ship, and they tend to eat anything that's heavy cruiser and below.
Oh yeah, I don't get you. So, but yeah, most people have some kind of Alicus story. A lot of people have played with him at least for a little bit, just to get the Alicus experience. Yeah, some people, people got their first Alicus experience on the speed server, but he's still playing.
Alicus is also part of the experience of another one that, not going to do spoilers, but one of the other failures.
Mm-hmm. Which, you know what? Why don't we go ahead and move on to the next one? Oh yeah. Oh, Alicus has the new nickname. Someone I forget why, but they memed and they referred to Alicus as the dragon. So that's the new meme of calling him the dragon now.
The dragon. Okay. Whoa.
Oh yeah.
You still Phalicus to me.
Yeah. I haven't heard Phalicus in a while, but that's also because he hadn't played in a while. His guild's doing good on Antares though. Because right now the guild is almost more passive than it was before, and Alicus is able to really take advantage of that. So he's doing well on Antares.
All right. Now the next one on the list, Johnny K from DA. Tried to Zerg, DSP, and failed badly.
because I see on here, like, he tried to, like, become, like, another sub-guild to HH. How's that even work?
No. And HH was not having any of it.
Oop, your mic cut out for a second there.
Yeah, and HH was not going to have any of that either. I mean, Baylor was, basically saw through that shit right away. So it was like, he was like, no. And we just went ahead and did a backstab, and I wound up Levi tapping his entire blob. Nom nom nom, and level 13 JG.
There you go. Easy peasy. Yeah, forum drama / humor ensued. Gotta remember the forums. Yeah, they don't get used too much anymore.
Dionysus, had a lot of fun with that one too.
All right, we're up to number 2, Andrea Nard, leader of Chai on Pegasus.
I think Mr. Black would definitely agree with this one, as would Addix, Baylor, and quite a few others. They remember him.
So I guess we see here that he just kicked a whole bunch of people out of his guild and trying to get rid of spies.
Yeah, he was so paranoid about spies that he was kicking out some of his talented players, in addition to the inactives. It's one thing when you're kicking out inactives to clean things up and give your other people something to eat. It's quite another when you're kicking out some of your good players from the guild.
Yeah, but Mr. Black and Belwar both agree that I guess Nard is super dumb. I don't even know who that is. I didn't play Pegasus, but yeah, kicking a lot of your guild, not that great.
Oh, yeah. To give another context on who Andrea Nard was, he was also in Nova in the 30s.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I didn't play Nova, so unfortunately.
Yeah, he was, and I think he was also not allowed to be in leadership during Omega.
Yeah, that makes sense. If they're a crazy person.
Yeah, Yaman was, Yaman and Misty were on his team.
Yeah.
In those things, and in Pegasus, I started with Andrea Nard. And if he actually did the correct things, and was involved, we wouldn't have lost that crash in, Pegasus 26. But he eventually got to the point where I got tired of his shit and I joined Royal.
Yeah. Yeah, but being able to be in a guild and recognize when you have shit leadership and not just blindly follow them all the time, most people aren't able to do that. A lot of people are just like, well, this is the guild. I guess I'll just do it and not think about it. Because there's a lot of less than ideal GMs in the world out there.
This one he was so terrible that he was the reason why I wrote the essay that I put on my Patreon now, Advice to New GMs. And it was basically listing out all of his mistakes and saying, don't do this.
Yeah. But, yeah, so that's Andrea Nard. Nard the Tard, Belwar says. It rhymes, so it must be true.
Oh, Nard means basically nerd and retard at the same time.
Yep, I believe it. And the last name on your list, Sui, from ASAE.
Need we say
Sui.
more?
Everyone hates Sui Juga. He's a man with a plan. He has principles and he sticks to them.
Yes, it's always, turtling up as hard as possible and to make a deterrence that doesn't actually stop any.
He leads his guild effectively. And I say this, and I'm going to explain it. Because he has rules for his guild. They're rules that most of us don't agree with. But he has the rules. They're very specific. They're enforceable. And he does enforce them. He plays the game weird. In a very weird way that most of us would agree is not fun at all. But in his weird, not do anything way, he is a very effective leader. He makes his people that he gets in his guild. He takes the time, and I'm pretty sure he does his own base reviews. You need to get more, You should have another disruptor turret or whatever. He does all that. Just like, I can only imagine if he tried hard to like play for real and like build fleet and don't turtle up. I bet he would do it well. But he just is so obsessed with just the ASAE style of play forever, and if you still exist, you might win after everyone else deletes their account.
I went through all of the different servers. There's not a single one that he's number one in, though. There is one that he's number two. So I'm thinking maybe we ought to set up a real guild, go in there, kick his ass, so he's not in the number two spot.
Because he has a plan. He's almost there on whatever server that is. I am going to get Sui on here one day. I've talked to him about it twice. We just haven't really gotten a time for it. I like Sui. Hey, he's a principled man.
I gave you of because there is that rumor that he's actually the main to Belwar being the multi.
I have people like to make up a lot of rumors about Sui. I heard people just say he's Wizards multi because he's just getting more people to play the game and just still playing the game. I believe I heard from you that he's a Belwar multi. But Sui is his own man. Pinochle says Sui is a proud gun owner in real life.
Yeah, but you should show that picture.
Oh, which picture? Oh, yeah, you sent me another one. It was, yeah, I can probably pull that up now. Where is it? Oh, no, I need to save it first. You talk while I do this. Talk for 20 seconds.
Oh, yeah. I saw his base being in Utopia 19, which happens to be where the wormhole is, and that's where most of our fleets are now. So I was like, oh, he's got only a few rings. So I decided to say hello and cracked his rings for him, and then sent him the nom 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 video. Actually when I sent that along, I think I was singing along to it too because it was just so cute.
Because I wonder if Sui remembers you. Because I bet, because you'll just hit bases. You don't care about the profit. You'll just hit them. So I bet that he remembers you.
Oh yeah, he remembers me. He actually we had a conversation after he liberated him.
Oh yeah, I always say hey to Sui. Sui is a friend of the news. But yeah, I can only imagine if Sui try-harded and played the game that we play the game, and just told his players to build fleet and use it, because he knows how to use his fleet. If an ASAE base gets occupied, he will go and break the Ock and hit it properly, not just throw fleet at it. He'll blow it up the right way. He knows how to use his fleet. Gosh, yeah. I can only imagine if he played for real. He's like this.
Yeah, if he actually played for real, he could be dangerous.
But yeah, he's got his own way. And he's not the official GM of ASE anymore. I think he stepped down from that a couple of years ago, but he's still playing in all the ASEs. Yeah, I wish he would play for real. I would love to see it so bad. That's my dream. That's my real dream.
Yeah, of course, there were other, guild leaders though that were really awesome. Like Yaman is actually fairly awesome as a GM. It was definitely one of the most underrated in the game, but Yemen is actually a good guild leader overall.
Oh yeah, I'm not sure anyone would say that he wasn't.
Yeah, and with I also had the privilege of playing with Addicts.
I've never played with Addicts. Yeah, I've always been on the outs with that crew.
Well, the thing is that in Pegasus, when you have played with Nard and then you played with Addicts, it literally is night and day.
I bet.
I mean, Addicts is as good as Nard is terrible.
Belwar asks, when did Yaman play? Probably 8 to 4 years ago, roughly.
That would be the Nova server in the 30s, and he was in Omega server running Empire, Imp.
And I know he played, I think he played Andromeda as well, so I know he played several years after Nova Omega, but I don't know officially when he stopped.
But yeah, Yaman was definitely one of the better ones. Yeah, getting him back into the game would definitely be entertaining.
Oh, for sure.
And I think also here's another underrated GM, Pipe Layer.
I love Pipe is my best Astro friend. I could text him right now. Pipe
was, he actually is one of the ones that, I would have to give props to. He kicked my ass in Kappa. From the 50s, coming down to the 30s. Yeah. That was actually fun. Yeah, I enjoyed the game in that, with him coming down after he screenshotted my saying, "Yeah, fuck it, come on down here, bring it, asshole." and
that sounds like
he did.
Yeah, that sounds like fun. Yeah, he's a great player, an absolute lunatic, and Omega troll. He was over the top. I love the guy. Absolutely love him.
And he actually helped me get started in Nova, getting started right with doing all the scouting. Mm-hmm. He actually was in my guild and scouted for me. Bet you didn't know that one.
That he used scout ships?
he actually scouted to the point where he actually, fed our DB, and we had all the totally up-to-date information throughout N27 through N29. He took care of it all.
Yeah,
he was really good at it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I love the guy Pipe. Maybe I'll shoot him a text, get him to come back and play, see what he's up to. Yeah, whenever I see an article, it's like Florida man does something. I always think he could potentially be Pipe. That would be him. He's a Florida man crime committer. Yeah, good. Yeah, I haven't heard anyone talk about him in forever. Good old fucking Pipe Layer. He's the man. But yeah, did you have any? I think you'd mentioned you wanted to give some shout outs to a few players before we start wrapping this up.
Oh, I missed that one. I had a few barking dogs here. I have 4 dogs I take care of. So what was the question again?
Oh, so dogs were barking. I said, yeah, you had some shout outs for a few players. I don't think we got to hear any of those before we wrap this up.
Oh, well, I did a couple of them already with, with Pipe. Some of my other favorite players included, like, from SETI. There was quite a few good ones from there, but some of them are now gone. Deathsmirth actually made a memorial of SETI players who have stopped playing, which includes, like, one of my favorite was Sasuke. She actually saved my ass more than once, in SETI. Mm-hmm. When this one guy was coming with an all heavy cruiser fleet, and I had nothing but fighters on my bases. She sent a shit ton of destroyers, and he was like, "Okay, I'm bailing from this."
Destroyers. I haven't seen anyone use destroyers in a while.
Destroyers are basically just heavy bombers that actually can fly on their own and don't need hangars.
I've never thought of them that way.
Well, sort of this, it's a different way of thinking about it, but what do you normally kill heavy cruisers with, when you don't have, bigger than heavy cruiser, you use either heavy bombers or use destroyers.
Or I guess you could use frigates.
Oh, yeah. For frigateers, frigates are always going to be a nice little go-to, but some folk, during that time in SETI, frigates were kind of like not a meta, and it was considered frigates suck. That was the conventional wisdom of the time, because people did not spec at that time.
Oh yeah, full rainbow. That was the way to go. That way you can do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, but none of it well.
Yeah. Because that was just way before the game was, figured out. It was a very different time.
It was a very different time, and the first official spec that existed was the cruiser spec, which is still the most idiot-proof spec that there is. You don't even have to think. You just basically, there's a base, smash. It's like no.
Yep, it can definitely hit all the bases.
Yeah, so it's like for those who, those not familiar for that time period, it's like back then there were rainbow fleets, people turret collecting all the time. It's like before people learned that the lesser turrets actually can damage your upper turrets.
Oh, yep.
So you had folks that actually had from barracks through rings, and I'm like,
you got to collect them all.
Yeah, collect them all. It's like, that for those folks, one of the things that was really funny to do was to just hit it like 10 fighters at a time, going just to try to damage the barracks.
Yeah, because there's always that, like, some idiot would be like, well, you keep you can do the fighter drop on the little turrets, and you can bleed the damage through, or some dumb nonsense like that. I remember seeing that, and I was like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
Well, the idea was that during the rebalance, it would damage the bigger turrets because the little turrets getting charged up by the big turrets.
Yep, Pinochle, real quick, you say, get Wizard as a guest. I do want to say that I officially reached out to Wizard a couple hours ago. I messaged him on the forums. I've officially done that. So I was going to talk about it in a minute. But I wanted to tell you now since you brought it up. But SilverKnight, any other shout-outs you want to do before we go? Any parting words now that you're back in the game?
Oh, well, I'm going to be doing, version 3 for a while. I think I'll even be GMing in B version 3 because, I want to see if I can prove Belwar wrong, but I need to get a crew together to do this. With this list, that was on the free side of my paywall from my Patreon. So, my Patreon is where I actually put a lot of, guides that I've compiled over the years. So
yeah, you did have a very, very large, just a repository of every Astro Empire's guide that's ever been made.
Yes, and so it's because I've learned from a lot of different sources, different views from the Alpha server Wolf Guards all the way through some of the latest folks that and of course Judicator taught me quite a bit, especially with his rich dad poor dad paradigm.
Yeah, that's the best guy that was ever written for Astro Empires, Rich Dad Poor Dad by Judicator.
With that one, I think that's why when we were in Juno, that's why I actually didn't I go with either no turret at all or just one missile turret the entire time.
I don't know.
I think it was in Juno. I was in, and I was incog like everybody else was. I was Elton John, because. And some person was asking, so which one are you? I said, well, I'm the gayest member of that gay guild.
Yeah.
And so they had to, and then when they got that clue, they eventually figured it out. Oh, Elton John. Oh, damn. And then, but I think there was one guy who actually hit one of my bases, and I went and destroyed his entire fleet. And took all of his bases and all of his, retributively. And I told him that, and because you have my guild on costs, I'm going to have to treat you as an existential threat. Yeah.
Yeah, he would. Yeah, you were known for doing work back in the day.
Oh yeah, he definitely. That's why he changed his profile to saying "owned by SilverKnight version 10."
Nice. Well,
that's one of my favorite memories.
Well, I'm glad we got to end on your favorite memory today. Thank you so much for coming on, SilverKnight. I'm glad you managed to find your way back into the game. I'm looking forward to seeing you on B3.0, and enjoy the rest of your weekend and Father's Day if you get to celebrate that.
Oh yeah, fortunately my dad died a few years ago, but I have a daughter of my own, so it's like I'm the dad now.
There you go. But thanks so much for coming on, SilverKnight. Yep, have a good one, and we'll see you around the servers. All right, thanks. See you later. All right, guys. That was senile old man SilverKnight. So glad to have him back. I know he's happy to be here. He played so many servers. Yeah, a lot of people who've been around for a long time. We know SilverKnight. Good guy. But I think we're going to end the show today, guys. Just barely couldn't keep it under an hour. Unfortunate. Hitman, I don't think you're correct. I am pretty sure that the Rich Dad Poor Dad guide is the official best. The Advanced AE guide is also good, but Rich Dad Poor Dad is the actual best. That's like the only guide I think that really talks about the mentality you want to have to be a good Astro player. And now, I do want to thank everyone for tuning in once again to the Astro News Network. Thank you everyone that followed, subscribed, all that fun stuff. If you have something that you want to come on the Astro Empire's News Network that you want to come on and talk about, go ahead. Reach out to me. You can just be some guy that's played for a while like SilverKnight. Doesn't matter. And doesn't discriminate. And who said it just a few minutes ago? The Pinochle said, you should try to get Wizard as a guest. I did message him on the forums like 2 hours ago. So we'll see if maybe on a future episode I get to do one with Wizard. I think that would be pretty great. Hitman, that guide isn't common sense because there's a lot of bad players out there that need to be told you need to quit turtling. That's why there's so many bad players out there, because they have the wrong mentality. They're not being aggressive and using fleet as that investment to get more things. A lot of players don't play that way, and some people needed to be told that. I want to put out that friendly reminder that I didn't get any this week, but I'm looking for the coolest account firsts on the server. And please send me what you think are your first like in-game things. Do you think you have the first Titans? Do you have base 15? I don't know. Try to let me know about it. Do you have Leviathans yet? You don't. Impossible. But when someone gets the first levy, let me go, man. But you know what, guys? I don't know who I'll have on next week, but we'll find somebody. Snailburner 5000 says he has 400 prod. That's not a very good overall production cap, but he has 400 prod on his sole account. That's pretty strong for maybe a new player. Who knows? But I suppose I'll just see you guys next week. So I knew you bet just the one base I was 400. But as always, guys, thanks so much for watching. And I think I'll see you guys next week. Have a good one.